Welcome to episode 707 of the Entertainment 2.0 podcast, brought to you by thedigitalmediazone.com. I'm Josh Pollard.
And I'm Richard Gunther, and this is the show that puts you in control of your favorite movies, music, shows, and games. Hey, Josh, I'm sorry. I've been away.
That's fine, man. Like, life has been crazy. And you were away for a really good reason. In fact,
I was.
I kind of want to start there because you were at South by Southwest.
Yes.
And there's always crazy media things that happen at South by Southwest.
Yes.
That our audience might care about. Like, do you already have that in our entertainment center section, or do you want to chat about any of that now?
Don't, because I didn't go to one movie, film, or TV event the entire time I was there.
Really?
Really. Yeah, and usually there's some premieres that I want to see either on the TV side or on the movie set. There was nothing that really caught my attention. The most interesting media thing there for me was the integrated Apple Music system on the new Rivian R2 that I gotta have.
Does the Rivian R2 finally have like buttons and knobs, or is it still 100% touchscreen?
There's two knobs on the steering wheel, and that is it.
Yikes.
And I don't necessarily like that, but I'm impressed by what they've done.
Yeah.
This is on the short list for my next lease.
They're so beautiful. I love the Rivians. Cool. Yeah. Well, this is not Cars 2.0,
no,
which would also
sadly
be a terrible name for a podcast. It's Entertainment 2.0. And we've got a fun show this week. A lot of stuff coming in just over the last day or so. We've got some new features inside of Plex. The Onn Google TV devices, which have pretty much always been the cheapest ways for you to stream Google TV, are now getting more expensive. tvOS over on your Apple TV device has a new version, and with it, it's got a couple of new features. There are also reviews out for the LG Sound Suite speakers. These are like a home theater speaker and multi-room audio type speakers, so we will talk about that. And maybe the thing I was drooling over the most today, prepping for this show, is Razer suddenly out of nowhere announcing a new Razer Blade 16 gaming laptop. So we will get into all of that, I would say, after our listener feedback, but we don't have any for you this week. So if you want to send us some feedback for a future episode, our email address is entertainment20@thedigitalmediazone.com, or there's a million other ways. All of our contact information is at the website, www.thedigitalmediazone.com, or stick around for the end of the show and we'll rattle it all off for you. But with that, let's jump into what is going on in Plex. Those guys have been busy over at Plex. And this first feature, I think, is the more exciting one. But Richard has more experience with the second one, so he'll cover that one. First one, you can now use your Plex mobile app to edit your metadata right on your phone.
Finally.
No longer do you have to go to a computer and log in to manage these things, or a computer, or put your web browser into desktop display mode on your phone, craziness like that we've been doing to manage our Plex servers for so long. Now, here's our first step at managing more things directly from the mobile app. And this works pretty much exactly how you would expect it to. You can click the three dots on a piece of media or just long press on it and select the manage option, and you'll be presented with a screen that allows you to change artwork, posters, backgrounds, tags, and labels. You can refresh the metadata, analyze things, view all of the file info, and delete episodes or shows or whatever it is that you might be watching if you want to, all right from within the app. And I think that's a great feature. On its own, But there's another story to this announcement from Plex that I think is also worth digging into a little bit. Because last year, Plex said, we hear you. You don't like the way that you have to manage your Plex media server, primarily from a computer or something like that. I have no idea why I said it like that. And so last year they said, we're going to give you a new management app. It'll be separate from the Plex app, and it will allow you to manage all the stuff that you want to manage about your Plex server. And with this update, they're using this as the opportunity to also say, yeah, we're just kidding. We don't want you to have multiple apps. That's annoying. Why would you want to edit metadata in one app and then have to launch the regular Plex app just to see your changes?
Yeah, why would you want to have to watch movies in one app and launch a different app to listen to music? Oh, sorry. I'm too soon?
No, probably not too soon. That's been the case for a while now with Plex. Yeah, that's still a little weird.
But yes, I agree to less proliferation of apps, please.
Yes. So I imagine we're going to be seeing a lot more features coming into the Plex app itself for managing your server. So looking forward to seeing all of that. And some of the management features, they say, will even come to the TV or, some like to call it the big screen experience too. Like there's no reason you couldn't edit some of this data from your TV. You don't necessarily need a keyboard and stuff for all of that. So that'll be nice to see once that eventually comes around.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's not it on the Plex front. It was a twofer this week. So we also learned about new lists on Plex. So previously, you've had a number of ways that you could manage your content or manage information about things you're interested in Plex. One of the earliest ways was collections, that your own things could be bundled into collections. And then they added playlists where you could have collections of maybe episodes or something, but they are in fact playlists. You play one and the others play after. And then they added wish lists, which you could use to track stuff that you're interested in watching. And this made a lot of sense since they created this whole access to the catalog of all movies in the world. And then you'd be able to say, oh, well, if this ever becomes available, I want to see this. And in fact, it'll let you know where you can see it, which is a nice feature. So they've had all of these features already, and now they're adding more lists. You can now create your own lists of things, like a wish list.
Watch list is the word you're meaning.
Watch list.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, watch list.
Yeah.
Like a watch list, but a little bit different in that you can also share it. So there's some public access to this if you want there to be. Kind of like you can create lists in Apple Music, and I don't know if Spotify has that capability too, but this actually allows you to decide if you want something to be public, if you want it to be just shared with your friends, if you want it to be shared with only people that are logged into Plex. That's a weird option.
It is.
Or if you want to share it with your friends' friends as well. Which is kind of nice. It's kind of nice that you have that granular capability and you can create any number of lists that you want to track whatever you want. So, maybe you have a, I don't know, favorite ALF episodes list that you want to create and share with your friends. You could do that. And it's like I said, it's different from all these other ways that you can do, because all this is it's a list of things, and then you can link into the things that you, if you have them or if they're available. But it shows up where your watch lists show up, and so it's kind of a part of your profile. And I think it's a cool feature. I'm not sure if I'll use it, but I like it in concept.
Right.
Is this something you think you would use, Josh?
I, I'm not sure because this really does feel like more of a social feature than anything.
Oh, totally.
Like I don't necessarily need to make my own list. Like the first thing that I thought of was like I could make a list of what I consider to be the best spy movies, and that only came to mind because like I just recently watched the Bourne movies, and so I kind of throw those in that genre. But they gave some fun examples in the Plex post describing this feature because it's not just a list. A list can have an order. And so you can make a list that says what order you think the Star Wars movies should be watched in. Or you could definitely do that with like the Marvel Cinematic
Marvel
Universe
stuff.
movies. If you
Yep.
have 5 or 6 hours of nothing else to do, like figuring out the correct order for what 58
Right.
movies or something
That's
like that.
just for figuring out the order, not for watching anything.
Exactly. Right. Right. So I, it just kind of feels like more of a social thing, and I don't use Plex as much of a social network as I think the Plex people would like us to be doing. But if that appeals to you, and like people who have huge movie libraries and things like that, who consider themselves like film buffs and stuff, I think they're going to nerd out on that type of stuff, right? Like these are the top, I don't know, Robert Zemeckis films in order. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. So, could be a lot of fun, but probably not something I'm going to use terribly often.
I mean, it could be cool as a reminder, for example, for things Richard's recommended that you and your wife should watch.
Well, that's what I use the watch list for in theory.
Okay.
But I forget to write them down, or sometimes I write them at the bottom of our show notes and leave them there for
if
years.
it doesn't make it to the list, then
Right.
this isn't going to help any.
Maybe you need to make that list for me, and then I can just
And share
go
it
to
with you.
Exactly.
There you go.
Exactly.
I'll maintain it.
I think we've figured out the solution and the perfect use case for a
Okay.
list. I like it. I like it. Cool. All right. Well, that's some fun news. Let's get into some less fun news. The cheapest options you've had for pretty much ever when it comes to wanting to experience Google TV, I mean, outside of like just buying a TV that has Google TV built into it, is to buy a device from Onn. That's spelled ONN. It is a brand from Walmart of lots of electronics, but they have a line of Google TV streaming devices. And they're dirt cheap. And unfortunately, they're a little less dirt cheap now. They're all going up in price. There is an HD stick. Like these prices still are insane, right? Because you've probably already read the notes here, Richard. So you know the answer to this question. But if I were to ask the listener, one of the two prices, whether it's the current price or the old price for the 1080p HD stick, is $19.88. Is that the new price, the more expensive one, or the original price?
Right.
Because that's how
Right.
cheap we're talking about here.
Right.
And that is the new price. That is the more expensive price. That is how low cost these devices have been. So that's up $5. The 4K box is going up from $19.88 to $24.88. And then the 4K plus, which with the cost of these things, like if you're hooking any of these up to a 4K TV, just buy the 4K plus, is now $39.88 instead of $29.88. So it's $40 for their highest end model. That is still $60 less than the box that Google makes. And I mean, if all you care about are the streaming features, it's pretty much as good. Like it does everything. So it's unfortunate to see the price go up, but it's still so cheap that it's hard to be upset about it.
Yeah.
They
Yeah. I can't be mad about this.
no, no. There was no like official announcement to go along with this. They just started raising the prices on these. So we're left to our own imaginations to figure out what's driving the cost of this. There are two possibilities. Could be related to tariffs, could also be related to the thing that we talk about, I think, practically every week now. The cost of RAM and storage continues to go up and up and up. And these things need RAM. All electronics need RAM. And while, the 4K plus, the highest end model here, only has 2 gigabytes of RAM, that 2 gigabytes of RAM is more expensive than it was 6 months ago. So that could be a factor here, but it could be a lot of things. So that stinks. The other thing that's been a little bit interesting that I also wonder if it's related to the RAM situation is Walmart's been having trouble keeping all of these devices in stock. Not just one particular model, all of them. On any given day, you're going to go to the Walmart website or your store, and they might only have, some of these or none of these. It's been kind of hard to get these. So if you're considering getting one, keep refreshing Walmart because it might be hard to get them. So keep an eye out for them.
That's kind of crazy. But yeah, if it is RAM issues, that would make sense.
Yeah, it would. All right, Richard, you are an Apple guy. You do a lot of watching on an Apple TV. Tell us about this latest update to tvOS.
I do. So just this week, we got a bunch of updates to OS 26. It's now OS 26.4 on pretty much everything now, I think. And the updates to the Apple TV added a couple things, removed a couple things. On the ad side, they added a new Genius browsing mode. And at first I thought, oh, this sounds dumb. Why do I want this? And basically what it is, if you remember Genius playlists and stuff like that from iTunes, this is similar to that, where it's making recommendations for you based on what you generally watch and what you're interested in. But it's clumped into different groups, again, kind of like Genius playlists. And those groups are set by Apple. There's like an editor's choice. There's one about gripping thrillers. There's one about period dramas. There's another one about action-packed sci-fi. I mean, they're different categories. And what you're going to see in there is going to be based on your viewing habits, which is kind of cool. What I really like about this is that it's kind of like a hierarchical web search. So you go in and it shows you, oh, here's some things we think you're going to watch. And then it says, scroll down. Like they have to prompt you to scroll down. This is already a UX fail, but whatever. They tell you to scroll down. And when you do, then it selects one of the movies or shows. And underneath that, now you're going to see a row of other things that you might also like. And I wasn't paying a whole lot of attention. I just kept on scrolling down. I'm like, wow, it has a whole lot of these. Does this list ever end? Well, what it's doing with each selection on a row, so let's go back up to the top of the list. You have a row of movie icons or show icons. You select one, and the next row is things you might like that are based on that, the thing that you selected. And if you move your cursor to the right to select a different one, now the second row is things you might like based on that. And so on. So that second row is dynamic based on what you selected in the first row. Go down to the second row. Now you have a third row based on what you selected there. Go over and it changes. So you have this whole thing where you can dive really deep into movies like movies like movies like movies or shows or whatever based on your viewing interests. Kind of like if you, I don't know, I get lost doing this every once in a while in, I think it's Hulu, where everything you look at, they're also recommending some other stuff, and I end up clicking on that, and then there's other stuff that I might be interested in, I end up clicking on that, and so it's kind of like doing that, but putting it all in one place and interacting with it dynamically. I think it's really cool.
It
I think it's
seems like it might
really cool.
be maybe jarring is the word I'm looking for, where like I'm gonna arrow over to the right to select a different movie, and all of a sudden the entirety of the next row down below is changing out from underneath me. I don't know. Maybe you get used to it right away, but it seems like I like the idea they're going for. I guess I just need to try and use this in person because it
Yeah.
seems
Yeah,
appealing.
I think it'd be interesting for you to try because I think it's really cool. Of course, these recommendations are going to be on what's available through Apple TV and the other apps that are linked into your Apple TV viewing habits, which of course does not include Netflix. Wah, wah.
Wah, wah.
But it should be any of the other apps that allow you to also access them from the Apple TV experience. So that I'm excited about this. I think Edward's gonna like this too. I think this is gonna go over well in this household.
Yeah, I mean, if it at the end of the day, if it helps you find something to watch faster, then it's a
It's
good
good.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Another thing they're doing is they're adding a new audio mode that's going to supposedly help out with some legacy connections to some Dolby audio connections to older devices that may have problems keeping those connections steady. So apparently people are having problems with the handshake issue where they lose audio, and this might be for Sonos or some old receivers and stuff like that. And this new mode is going to create a persistent connection that supposedly this will never happen on. Now, it sounds, based on the description about this, it sounds like the way they're implementing this is they're just opening all channels. So it's going to look like you're using Atmos, but you're not really.
Right.
It's just sending data through based on the source channels, but kind of almost like a PCM connection works if you're using 7.2 or 5.2. It's just going to keep all connections open for audio. I don't know that I'm describing that technically accurately, but that's the gist of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's almost like maybe this is stretching the analogy, but like the cars that now will turn off the engine at a stoplight. And that's fine. It saves you gas as long as
it starts up
as
again.
long as it starts back up again. Exactly. And the problem is that the engine, in this case, the audio connection to your speakers, doesn't always start back up again. And
Right.
so they're essentially just saying, we're just going to stop turning off the engine.
Yeah.
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 Makes
I like
sense.
that analogy. That was good. Car guy comes up with a car analogy. Shocker.
Right.
All right. Another thing they're going to, or that they're adding to this update is the ability to customize your captions a little bit easier. This stuff was always available where you could go in, you could customize the look, the format, the color, whether it's transparent or not. You could do that all in the settings. Now it's going to be kind of in your play menu. So you're going to have the ability to get to that stuff a little bit easier. I don't know how I feel about this because I don't know how often you really need to change this stuff. I think this is a set it once and forget it kind of thing. What I worry about is the apps that insist on using their own player instead of the native player in the Apple TV environment. And Peacock is a great example of this. And I believe HBO still does the same thing too. They have their own player. It behaves a little bit differently than the standard player, so options may not be in the same place. When you press the center button in your D-pad on the remote, it may or may not actually pause right away. You may have to press it again because pressing it first time just brought up the pause button. So stuff like that may make this inconsistent from app to app, but this is, I guess, their attempt to make these features a little bit more accessible. And generally, more accessible is a good thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then this is not really newsworthy, but if you were for some reason still using the iTunes movies and iTunes TV shows thumbnails in your Apple TV environment, they gone now. So you're just going to have to go back to looking at that stuff in your library in Apple TV or as part of your account. The stuff is still there. Everything you bought, it didn't go away. You just get to it a little bit differently now.
Right.
And it's frankly been that way for years. I'm surprised those apps, and I'll put air quotes around that, were actually still there.
Yeah. Yeah. Just kind of cleaning up some old stuff that hopefully no one was still using.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's jump into some audio news. And, we've spent a lot of time over the last year ragging on the situation at Sonos, but Sonos, when their app is not causing you endless problems, their devices are really good and they work generally pretty well, especially in a home theater scenario where you can get really good sounding speakers that are wirelessly connected to everything. Well, we're starting to see similar options from other competitors, and we're going to talk about one of those now, and that is from LG. And this is a new product line that they are calling the LG Sound Suite, and it's using a technology that they call Plex Connect. It's not new. In fact, it's a technology that was included in TCL speakers about a year ago, but this is LG's first attempt to put it into their own speakers, and it allows you to connect multiple different types of speakers into a group, ideally and primarily focused around your home theater connected to your television. So the main star of the show here is, of course, the sound bar. The model for that is the H7. It is a large sound bar. It has a boatload of speakers, and it has 12 speakers firing forward, to the side, and upward firing. It also has 4 woofers, 8 passive radiators. It's a lot. It's got it all. And it's $1,000. But it's also the brains of the system. So in addition to that, you've got a few other speaker options. You do have a sub. There's only one subwoofer option. It is an 8-inch subwoofer called the W7. It is $600. And then for your other speakers, which, in a home theater environment would likely just be your rears or surrounds, you've got 2 different sizes of those. There's the M5, which is $250 for one of those, or the M7, which is $400 and is bigger. It's got an extra woofer in it. But both the M5 and the M7 also feature upward firing speakers. So you are, in theory, going to get a somewhat realistic reproduction of sound coming from all around you, including above you, if you're using this system. And then this Plex Connect technology, it also has the ability to automatically calibrate itself. So maybe you're not in a perfectly rectangular room or something like that, or you just, if you're not in a home theater, it can be tricky to place speakers in the ideal location for getting optimized surround sound. But like other competitors, including Sonos, it has the ability to do a self-calibration so that you can just put the speakers where they are convenient to you and then go through the self-calibration process for it to make adjustments to the signal so that it sounds correct, even though it might not be placed in the correct spot. So cool technology. It sounds, from the reviews that we're linking to a review, add-in gadget that it works pretty well. And that overall, these speakers sound really good. They also have all of the connectivity that you're looking for. They, of course, have Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. They have AirPlay 2 and Google Cast, Spotify Connect, and Tidal Connect. So all of the ways that you're streaming audio to your speakers, it supports. You can also do various different combinations of how these all work together. But this is where it gets a little tricky. So if you're like, I don't really want the subwoofer, or not subwoofer, the center channel soundbar, because I don't want to spend $1,000 on that. Well, you could just use like the M5s and the M7s, but all of this works through using some of LG's latest processors. And, well, that processor is in the H7 soundbar, and it's in some of the newer, higher-end LG TVs. So if you have a higher end, like all of the OLEDs and some of the mini LED TVs from LG that came out in 2025 and most of the 2026 models, they have that chip already. So you don't need the sound bar in that situation. But otherwise, you do, because all of that processing to figure out where your speaker should be and stuff has to happen somewhere, and it's got to be on one of these newer chips. So it's either got to happen in the H7 soundbar, or it's got to happen in a newer, higher-end LG TV. So that's how you can use all of these in a home theater environment. But it doesn't have to. You could just take a couple of these and put them in your family room in a stereo pair, or maybe even a group of 4 of them and one in each corner or something like that. You can absolutely do that if you want to. Again, the cost of these a little bit pricey, but I think, I probably should have looked it up, Richard. I think these still end up probably costing a little bit less than the Sonos comparable devices. Is that, well, maybe not, because the M5 is that's the smallest speaker that you would use as the surrounds, is $250. I want to say the Sonos speaker that most people are using for surrounds is $220. Is that right?
If you're using the Sonos Aero 100s, which I'm using in my family room, I thought those were $250 now. So this seems like it would be competitive with that. Remember, Sonos does nothing but raise prices. So
right.
Yeah. I mean, from a pricing perspective, I think they're competitive, right? This is about the price of an ARC, about the price of the subwoofer. It's kind of in the middle of the price of the Sonos Sub and the Sub Mini. And then these satellite speakers seem like they're, again, competitive. I'm curious because my TCL TV has Flex Connect built into it. If because these are Flex Connect, I could use this system with my TV. Now, I'm just curious because I've talked about how I already bought Sonos stuff and I'm not going to replace that. I'm not going to go all TJ on y'all and get rid of all my Sonos. If you know, you know. And I just am curious whether this is a compatible standard that allows for cross-brand use.
Yeah. I wondered the same thing, because that is the risk that you fall into with a system like this. And at first I thought, well, yeah, like that vendor lock-in kind of stinks with Sonos and stuff. But if you're building a home theater, do you care? Like, you're probably just going to buy all of the speakers at once anyway. And so it would make sense to buy all of them from the same company, most likely.
Yeah. I mean, It really depends what you want to do with your speakers, right? How
Yeah.
you're using them around your house.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, that is it for the LG Sound Suite system. So we're going to jump into our one gaming story of the week.
Now we're going to literally hear Josh drool.
We're going to save you all from that because no one actually wants that. And if you're watching this video on YouTube, you're not going to have to watch me drool either. So don't worry about that. So one of the things, if you were listening to our episodes around CES, one of the things that surprised me, especially at CES, was Razer always announces new laptops at CES. Always. And they didn't this year. Although in terms of hardware, they just had like AI computer boxes, like AI processing servers, essentially. And that's not interesting for the gaming community. And I wondered what was up with that. Like, would we even get an update to the Razer Blade 14 and 16? Well, surprise announcement today. We are getting a new update to the Razer Blade 16, at least. That's it. Just the 16. No announcements about the 14, at least as of yet. And some pretty big changes to the Razer Blade 16. So they are switching from using an AMD processor to Intel's new Panther Lake processors. So this is, I keep saying processors, but there isn't an option. There's only one option. And it's the Core Ultra 9 386H CPU. That is a 16-core CPU. It also has an NPU built in. And I know that a lot of gamers are like, I don't want a stupid NPU. I don't care about Copilot on my gaming PC. But friends, I think you will, because as we continue to see things like DLSS and all of these other basically AI, data driven models for improving your visual experience in games, if they can offload that work to an NPU, then that leaves your GPU more freedom and power to pump up the rest of the visuals doing the raw graphical processing. So
yeah, it helps the GPU.
Yeah, exactly. It gives the GPU more room to do things. So I think this is a good thing. And anybody who's like, I don't want an AI PC, it's my gaming PC, I think you're going to want to. So I think that's a good thing. And then Razer was like, let's just throw the best of everything imaginable at this. So it's got, basically the highest end RAM options that you could get. LPDDR5 X9600 RAM. That is crazy fast RAM. They've only made minor tweaks to the display. Didn't really need much. It was already fantastic. It's a 240 hertz OLED. The main difference is it goes from 1,000 nits of peak brightness to 1,100 nits of peak brightness. So pretty nice on an OLED display. Because they're using this Intel processor, it means they can also give you Thunderbolt 5. So if there are other things that you want to be plugging into your Razer Blade, whether it's multiple 4K plus displays and things like that, other crazy docking stations, you can't do that on an AMD processor. It doesn't support Thunderbolt. So you get that with the Razer Blade 16. It has Bluetooth 6. I pay attention to Bluetooth. I didn't even realize Bluetooth 6 was out.
I had no idea.
Right. It also has Wi-Fi 7, of course, which, I don't know, does anybody have a Wi-Fi 7 router at home yet? Not very many people. And then, of course, the GPU is the other big star of the show. Right now, there are only two options, the RTX 5080 and the RTX 5090. Those are the two top-end GPUs that you can get in there. There aren't actually that many options. Like I said, there's only one CPU option there, and you can customize whether you want 32 or 64 gigs of RAM, 1 terabyte or 2 terabytes of storage, and whether you want the 5080 or the 5090. That's it. The base price for this thing with a 5080, 1 terabyte, and 32 gigs of storage is $3,500. Wow.
Oof.
It's so expensive, but it looks amazing.
Oh, I'm
The
sure
performance
it's
is going to be incredible. When we speculated about why there wasn't an updated Razer Blade at CES, one of the things that we talked about is like, well, maybe it's because of the cost of RAM and storage, and they're not sure what they're going to be able to price these things at. I think they found a little bit of a solution to this, because if you go into the configurator, if you want to double your RAM from 32 gigs to 64 gigs, you can do that for $1,000. If you want to double the storage from 1 terabyte to 2 terabytes, you can do that for $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane. Like, that blows Apple out of the market, out of the water, when it comes to how much they charge for those things.
Yeah.
Wow.
Who knows nowadays? But
right.
But yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot. Like, I expected the upgrade to the 5090 to be $1,000, and it is. But yeah, $1,000 extra to go to 2 terabytes of storage. Woof. That's nuts. So anyway, I'm excited to see what the reviews end up looking like for these. And I would love to actually drool over one in person someday. That'd be great. But that's not going to happen anytime soon. So that is it for our gaming news. Richard, let's jump into what's going on in our entertainment centers.
A lot. It's been a while. So I have like actual physical real world stuff going on and digital stuff. So let's start with the physical stuff, if you will. I was planning to do this, so this shouldn't be a huge surprise to anyone, but I protest canceled my Paramount Plus account. I had been watching Star Trek on that, and currently there is no Star Trek now playing. So when Star Trek comes back, I will probably resubscribe. Now, I was getting a discounted version through Walmart, and I was getting it for, I think, $6 or $7, something like that, without ads. I can get it for free with no ads. And I'm all about paying them no money. I think that's a great idea. So when Star Trek comes back, I will pay them no money to get all of that with ads and just deal with it. Then you were talking in last week's episode about how Amazon kind of repackaged and rebundled their no ads feature that you can add to Amazon Prime Video. And I was paying the $3 a month for that. Now, you had wondered if I had the annual subscription. The answer to that was no, because they didn't even offer one. You had to pay
I thought
every single month for it, which was just ridiculous. Now, with this rebundled service that you talked about, you can pay annually, which is great. I like that for people who are going to pay this. I'm not. And it's not that they raised the price to almost double, basically. Not almost double, but they raised the price 67%, right? It went up.
Right.
It went up by $2 each month. So now to $5 a month. And you're like, yeah, but Richard, you get all this other stuff. No. What they're giving me is stuff that I already have.
Right.
But now I'm going to have to pay for it.
Exactly.
So no, my answer is no. I have already canceled my ad-free stuff through Amazon. So, yeah, that was kind of annoying.
Yeah. Are you in the middle of watching anything on Amazon right now anyway?
No.
Okay, perfect.
No. I'm sure it'll bug me when we get back to watching something on Amazon, but not currently, no.
Yeah.
All right. So, a bunch of shows have finished the season since I have talked about it last. So I was talking about A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. I finished season 1. That was so good. It was so, so good. I loved that show. I cannot wait for the next season. I finished season 1 of Stumble. This is the one that I really think your wife should watch. It's fun, fun, fun.
We
And the
we
last
actually watched a little
episode,
bit of it.
did you?
I forgot to tell you. I guess you weren't on the last show.
Yeah.
We watched 2 or 3 episodes.
Okay. Oh, no.
I think she likes it more than I do.
Okay.
I was just kind of meh about it. I think she enjoyed it more. I don't know that she's watched any more since the first day, though.
Okay. All right. I love it. It to me has I'm trying to think of the right comparison. I think it reminds me a little bit of Arrested Development. Like it has a lot of word gags in it, like how they have all these ridiculous names like Sammy Davis Senior Junior College
Right.
and stuff like that. And just the way they just kind of look at the camera because it's a mockumentary kind of thing. The way they talk to the camera, the relationship that she and her husband have. The last episode was such a feel-good episode. It was such a great episode. They did an amazing job. And that's not even really spoiling anything. So, yeah, if you've been thinking about that one, I recommend it. It has been renewed for another season, so I am looking forward to that. I binged all of the second season of Unstable while I was traveling. This is the show with Rob Lowe and his actual son playing his son on on Netflix, and it was fine. The first season was really, really funny. This was okay. This was not as good, but it's done now, so I've seen all of it. Check that box. All right. I finished season 1 of Starfleet Academy. I think I've talked about the show a fair amount. It had its problems. I really liked it regardless. It's been canceled. They have already filmed season 2. They've committed to showing season 2, but they've already canceled the show. I am not going to get into my thoughts about that or the reasons why I think this might have happened. I've done that and will continue to do that probably on social media, but I'm going to be bummed to see it go because I thought it had a lot of potential. Also, keeping up with Abbott Elementary, keeping up with Ghosts, and then for the Court Killers full experience, they were watching Lost, the first lowest and last episode of that. The last episode, of course, the 2-hour finale. I know this finale was controversial. I don't know if that's the right word. It some people loved it, some people hated it. I loved it, so watching it again, I thought it was great. And apparently, there's like a director's cut of the finale that is longer than the combined last 2 episodes.
What?
And yeah, I don't understand. I guess they added stuff in that they had taken out to air it on TV. And so I watched that on Hulu, which was kind of cool. And then I did something unbelievable for me.
I was shocked by this.
You shouldn't have been. I went to see Project Hail Mary on opening day at a D-Box enabled theater. D-Box is one of 2 technologies that theaters are employing now with films to give you a physical experience to somewhat align with what you're seeing on the screen. So basically, it's motion chairs. This is not the one that also somehow involves water, and I can't even imagine what that would be like. This is just motion and vibration. And it was really cool. They did such a good job with the motion in particular, where you're seeing something rotate and just the ever so subtle movement on your chair as something's rotating. And whoa, does that mess with your head? Because the room's not moving, but what you're seeing is, and you're moving. But it was cool. It was very cool. I'm so happy. Josh, I know that you went to see this weekend as well. Please tell me you're happy. Were you okay with it?
I have 3 words. Amaze, amaze, amaze.
Yay!
It was
Yes.
so good. They did such a
good job.
fantastic job.
Yep.
Converting this from a book that is pretty much entirely one person, just like The Martian. It's basically almost entirely like just one person's perspective.
Yep.
And still made this a fantastic movie. Like it was just so well. One of the best adaptations from book to movie that I've ever seen.
Yep.
On top of
Absolutely.
it being such a great story.
Yeah, and we were both worried about them ruining it.
Yes, I was very worried.
Right.
Like that first trailer, I was like, oh no, they ruined one of my favorite books. No, it was really, really good.
Yeah, they did such a good job. It is the same screenwriter that did The Martian, and I'm sure that had a lot to do with it. He understands Weir's work. I am concerned that now because these did so well already. This has done very well on the opening weekend. Because these have done so well, I'm concerned they're going to try and make Artemis into a movie, and that's going to be terrible. So I don't want them to do that.
Yeah, not a great book.
But yeah, this was great, and the directors on this are the guys behind like Through the Spider-Verse, and and they did the Jump Street 21 and 22 movies, which is an odd kind of twist. But I mean, they knew what they were doing. They just like The Martian, this movie has a lot of heart and it has a lot of humor, and it was presented in a way that worked so well.
Yeah.
And frankly, it's a buddy cop movie, right?
Right.
I mean, so yeah, they did such a good job. I'm so excited. All right, I've been watching a lot. Oh, by the way, I plan to go see it in IMAX within the next week or so. I need to see this in the theaters again. I have been watching a lot of YouTube about Star Trek, about Project Hail Mary, and about the Rivian R2. Weird. I'm caught up on all of my podcasts, and because I'm caught up, I've also been listening more to the book club book that we've been reading, Hyper Efficient. And I rarely get time to do this, but when I do, I really, really enjoy it. And just to better understand how our system works, I recommend that people look into doing this yourselves. This week I listened to, actually today, I listened to the oral arguments presented to the Supreme Court justices on the Mississippi case before them regarding when ballots can be accepted in an election. And it meaning, do they all have to be in and accepted by election day, or can they be postmarked and then, or something like that, and come in later? Really, really fascinating to hear both sides of the arguments and hear the questions that the justices answer, and get a feel for just like how our judicial system really works. And all of this audio is available to download at the Supreme Court website. You can just download it, and VLC ended up being the default player on my phone that ended up playing the file that I downloaded. And I'm really glad that I took the 2 hours to listen to that while I was otherwise working on spreadsheets today. So,
yeah, that's better than spreadsheets, for sure.
and it didn't distract me. I can still do numbers and listen to people talk.
Right.
All right. That was a lot, but it is what I've been up to in my entertainment center. How about you?
Yeah, that is a lot, but it's good stuff. On the gaming side, fair amount of NHL like usual, a little bit more Cyberpunk, frankly. Saturday night, I played some NHL and I finished and I was like, why? Why did I do this? I should have been playing Cyberpunk. So I've only played like another hour of Cyberpunk, so I'm still not very far into it, but I'm still super impressed by the way that game works and the systems that it has built into it. It's cool. We already talked about Project Hail Mary. We went and saw that this weekend too. Jen and I both absolutely loved it. I would see it again and again and again, just like Richard. I think there's an IMAX theater like an hour from me, but I'm not sure. I've never actually been to an IMAX theater.
The question is, it real IMAX? Like, there's IMAX and then there's IMAX. So typically, if you have like a museum or something like that, they'll have real IMAX.
Yeah. I think maybe the Natural History Museum at the University of Michigan has one. I think, but I'm not sure. So anyway, on the TV front, a fair amount of stuff there. We are all up to date on The Pit. Last episode was very, very hard for me.
Wow.
Yeah, not great. I won't get into that, but yeah,
Okay.
but it's good. Like, it's a really good episode, but it's like, oh, you're going to have two stories that hit me like right in my real life. Thanks. I appreciate that. We are all up to date on Paradise Season 2, which may be a little bit of a surprise to anybody who listened to last week's episode and heard me say, yeah, I don't know about this Season 2. It's not been so great. It gets better. I still don't think it's anywhere near as good as Season 1, but it's definitely gotten better from like episodes 3, 4, 5-ish that we're up to now. Also because I continue to make terrible decisions about what to watch for my mental state, randomly decided I'm going to watch Chernobyl. Like, I've got a long run on the treadmill to do. So I don't know. Let's see what's on HBO Max. And
you mentioned this last week, and Josh, I'm so excited for you though, because this is so good.
It was so good. I finished it.
You finished it?
I did finish it.
It is so good. I think Edward's watched it through like 3 or 4 times. It is so well done.
Yeah. I think was the writer for this, didn't he also work on The Last of Us? Craig Mazin, I think his
so.
name is, or maybe Severance. I don't know. He's definitely done something else that I've seen. It's really good, and it wasn't quite as depressing as I had expected it to be. I'm not sure what that says about the show or me, but
no, but because there's stories of hope in there too. Right?
There are, right, and it's not like millions of people got obliterated in a flash or something like that. It wasn't like that. But yeah, it was.
Yeah, don't watch any more of those for a while.
Right. So then, as I was like scrolling through my newsfeed, I saw a story yesterday that was like, "Hey, underrated show on Netflix called Black Doves. It's got Keira Knightley, who is super famous, but the only thing that I can think of that she's been in are the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Yep.
She's the star of this Netflix show where she is a spy for the U.S. government, or not the U.S. government, the British government, and someone she cares about gets assassinated, and that's right up my alley. Like, that sort of stuff I love. And so we watched the first episode of that last night. I think I liked it more than Jen did, so I'm curious if she liked it enough for us to keep watching it together, or if this is going to be a solo show for me. But I definitely liked it enough that I would keep watching it.
I need to add this to my list. Hey, Josh, could you put this on the list of things I need to watch?
If only there was like a digital assistant that could do that would integrate with Plex for us, like as a service.
There you go.
I would like that. So Black Doves, it's good. At least the first episode is. And then books, I mentioned this last week also. Theo of Golden by Alan Levi. I'm still not done. I've got to finish it though. My book club meeting is next Friday, so I've got to get through this. I am still loving it. I'm waiting for there to be a moment where like things just fall apart, because it's been really heartwarming and there hasn't been a moment like that yet. So maybe that's good. Like, this is my opposite to Chernobyl, right? So it's been really good. And by next week, hopefully I will have this book finished and can give you my complete thoughts on it. But so far, really, really enjoying this one. Okay, well, that's what's going on in our entertainment centers, and that's going to do it for this week. So if you'd like to get a hold of us, we're everywhere. All of our contact information is in the show notes with links to everything else that we talked about tonight over at our website, www.thedigitalmediazone.com. I'm on Twitter at Josh Pollard. Richard is not, because he's smarter than me. Richard is on Mastodon and Blue Sky. He's Richard Gunther on Mastodon, richardgunther.com on Blue Sky.
Because I wasn't smart enough to get on Blue Sky right at the beginning.
I told you. I am on Blue Sky, just Josh Pollard there also. That is where I would prefer you find me. And the website is DigiMediaZone on Twitter, or X, I guess. We're back. We did the show live this week. We do that sometimes. And then we...
It's been a while.
Yeah.
It has been a while.
Yeah. My training schedule for my half marathon has been kind of weird. Things are shifting around. It worked out better this week, so we're back live. But if you missed the live show, you can still see us, because we still upload the video. Even if we don't do it live, we typically record a video and then throw it up on our YouTube channel. So head on over there and like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. But that's going to do it for episode 707. He's Richard Gunther, and I'm Josh Pollard. Thanks for listening to Entertainment 2.0. Adios.
Goodbye.